Welcome to Nexus Edge, the show that will help you get an edge on your competition. I'm your replacement host, Arthanol. I am the villain of NGS, and I have kidnapped Turd Herder, so it's me now. This is my show, so welcome to my own personal hell. That might need to get bleeped. And I am here with my panel, Ziltoid.
Hey, everybody.
The Oracle, also known as Ryokai.
How's it going?
And Mongoose.
Howdy ho.
How's it going, guys?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so this show, we have no guests. It's all just regular panelists on Nexus Edge as we discuss the playoffs. So we got a playoff season coming up. Right now we got Division B, C, and D for the playoffs. A and Heroic are still going on with the regular season. But today, we are talking playoffs. So, let's go ahead and get right into it. So, starting from the top, we have Division B playoffs. So, Ziltoid, I think you're ready for this. How about you go ahead and give us a rundown?
Actually, how about you start with Ryokai?
Ryokai, okay.
Okay.
The
Oracle has to go.
I'm still working on some things, so...
Okay.
Ryokai, alright, let's hear it.
I'll go ahead and start with the East here. So, for round one, I have HOTUS, Heroes of the United States, taking it over Rush B. For the second matchup, I have Beast Coast taking it over Jailbait. Then I have Minion Miners taking it over Reborn Knights Black. And the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit taking it over Murky Sid Squad. So, a couple of those might be some spicy upsets. So I think Jailbait could potentially upset Beast Coast, and Reborn Knights Black potentially over Minion Miners. Beast Coast apparently had some roster shuffles, and Reborn Knights Black did beat Minion Miners 2-0 in the regular season. So, those are like my spicy matchup picks that could potentially go the other way. Then I have HOTUS taking it in round two, and the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit also in round two over Beast Coast and Minion Miners, respectively. Couldn't remember there. And again, I think the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit has had a little bit of a roster shakeup towards the end of the season here, so that could potentially be an upset there in the second round for them. And then at the very end, I have HOTUS taking it over the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit as your B East champion.
Awesome. So, I believe HOTUS won B East as well 2 seasons ago? Is that correct?
And 3 seasons ago as well.
And
they were back-to-back, if
and
my
they
memory
dropped
serves
it
right.
last season, right?
Yeah, I can't remember
Gilly.
who won last season.
To
Yeah,
Gilly.
that's right.
They
Okay.
dropped
Gilly.
it to Gilly. Because
Yep.
they had beaten Gilly those two teams met 3 seasons in a row
Yep.
in B East in the finals, if I recall. So HOTUS took 2, and then Gilly Shark took last season and bumped up, and I'm sure we'll be talking about them next week when we go over Division A.
Yeah. So, moving on over to that. Actually, I do want to say that I think Reborn Knights Black, you mentioned that was going to be a spicy matchup. So, sneak peek at my bracket. I think they're going to get the upset right there against Minion Miners. And,
Yeah, that was a pretty close one. I could see that happening for sure.
in fact, I have a coin somewhere around here. No, I took it out a second ago, and now it's gone, so I'll flip it later. But, I give it the Reborn Knights Black. But, moving on to B West, let's hear what you have for that.
All right, B West. Got a little bit potentially of a spicier bracket here. So I've got, in the first round, Unemployed Gaming taking it over Roll1 Esports. Then I have Logical Decision taking it over Who Knows Gaming, but I do think that'll be a close matchup. So that's definitely one to watch. Then I have Uncomfortably Numb over Reborn Knights White. And finally, Soak Every Lane over Deviled Kegs. So none of those are upsets just yet. That's pretty much the higher seed beating the lower seed there. But I do think the 4th and 5th seed matchup there will be close, as it probably will be in basically every division, but especially in B West, I think. So then in the second round, I have Logical Decision taking it over Unemployed Gaming. So Logical Decision beat them 2-0 in the regular season. That's potentially a spicy pick, but the Oracle has spoken. So there you go.
No pressure.
And then I've got Uncomfortably Numb taking it over Soak Every Lane for the other secondary upset. I do think maybe that's not really considered an upset. That's like a 2 and a 3 seed playing. It could basically go either way. But I think Uncomfortably Numb pulls it out. And then I do think Uncomfortably Numb is going to take it over Logical Decision in the B West Grand Finals. And I do think that'll be a close series. I think if they win, it'll probably be like 3-2. And I didn't mention this, but HOTUS over the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit in B East, I thought was probably going to be like a 3-1 victory. And then as for your Division B Grand Champions, who wins of the West versus East, battle. I think HOTUS is going to take it over Uncomfortably Numb, and I think HOTUS is going to take it 3-1. So.
Ooh. So, let me follow this because I don't have a filled out bracket for everyone in front of me. But so you're saying in round 2, Logical Decision is going to be Unemployed Gaming?
Correct. Yeah.
Spicy. I like that.
I do have them getting beat in the B West finals, but I think that'll be a close series with them and Uncomfortable. So.
Interesting. Yeah.
No pressure.
I like that a lot. Unemployed Gaming's a lot of fun to watch with Rexpa and Covey, who I believe is currently sitting as a sub, but Covey, Nathan, P. Moore, and Bridge to Death, those are all fun guys to watch. So I would actually really like a Logical Decision, Unemployed Gaming Grand Finals. Of course, that can't happen. That's going to happen in round 2 in 3 games, but awesome, yeah. Any thoughts on that bracket, Ziltoid or Mongoose?
I mean, everybody, it's very safe. In the idea that for the B West side, the upper bracket you can kind of predict maybe that type of upsets happening just based off of regular season results. But keep in mind, UG had a lot of roster changes up until that point, so Logical Decision hasn't played the new team yet, so it could very well be different. And who knows, Gaming lost 2-0 to us and then went on a winning streak, so it's really hard to say what that side of the bracket's going to look like. On the other side, we've lost to every single one of those teams. So it doesn't really matter who comes out on that side.
Yeah, luckily they're on the other side,
even if we make it there. So B West is tight. Like, there's lots of really good teams there, and there can be lots of upsets, I think, through and through.
Yeah, overall, I think B is going to be the tightest division and probably has the most potential for upsets on both coasts, East and West. So
interesting. Mongoose, how about yourself?
Well, I'll start with the B East. I think it's hard to pick against HOTUS, winning that matchup. Rush B coming up from a lower division last season, been a little bit up and down, finishing in that 8th seed. HOTUS, always one of the top teams in B East, won 2 of the last 3 Beast finals, so I think it's going to be HOTUS in that matchup there. Beast Coast and Jailbait should be a lot of fun to watch. I do have Beast Coast squeaking it out, though. If I'm going to pick one matchup to really keep an eye on, though, it's that Minion Miners Reborn Knights set. Even though it's a 2-7 matchup, Reborn Knights is a solid veteran team. Those guys have all been playing, competitive in some form. They were actually my preseason pick to go all the way, so I got to stick with it. The upset there, 7-2, and the Real Ultimate Mosh Pit, despite a little bit of roster shake up at the end, it's kind of similar to Reborn Knights. They have all of these veteran players who have won and been around. So I like Trump in that matchup there. I think HOTUS is going to keep it rolling. Knock out Beast Coast in the second round. And I think Reborn Knights, once again, I picked them preseason. I got to keep it going. They're going to knock out Trump in the second round. And that leads us to the HOTUS Reborn Knights finals. My head tells me HOTUS. It's hard to pick against them, but my heart says Reborn Knights. And so I'm going to stick with my pick, and Reborn Knights advances from the 7th seed all the way to the B Grand Final. And now we go to B West, where I have been home to the last 3 seasons, where I probably won't be home to next season, who knows. And let me tell you, as the last place team in B West, Anybody can beat anybody in this division. I think this specific division is going to have the most potential for the most upsets. There are a lot of these teams, even despite the results in the standings, played really tight throughout the season. Unemployed Gaming, despite some roster kind of instability throughout the season, it's always hard to pick against the number 1 seed. They're the number 1 seed for a reason. So I think it's going to be Unemployed Gaming. Logical Decision and Who Knows Gaming, I have no idea. Love Ziltoid and the guys, but they've been really up and down. It's been hard to predict where you guys have been. You were kind of my preseason favorite going in, the last of the kind of the highest ranked teams of the teams that stuck around, and you've had some really great showings and some stinkers too.
Yep.
And Who Knows Gaming has been hot lately. So I guess I'm gonna have to go with Logical Decision in some kind of completely crazy matchup where something odd happens. Uncomfortably Numb, another veteran team. I think they're likely to take out Reborn Knights White, formerly running with Turtles. And if you want to watch, in my opinion, the set to watch, Soak Every Lane versus Deviled Kegs. 2 veteran squads, a lot of personality on Deviled Kegs, as well as some really good players. I think in the first round matchups, that's absolutely the matchup you want to watch. Unemployed Gaming versus Logical Decision. I think ultimately Unemployed Gaming advances to the B West Finals. Soak Every Lane, if I didn't say that. And then Uncomfortably Numb, I think gonna kind of find their form, go to the B West Finals, where they, you know what? I'm gonna pick Famous and the guys to knock out Unemployed Gaming, and then the Cinderella story continues with Reborn Knights Black winning in the grand finals over Uncomfortably Numb.
Awesome. Yeah, I like that bracket a lot.
It's hard to argue with a man who has so much faith and conviction. I just purely respect it.
It is. Something tells me my bracket's going to be a little bit controversial. Which, I mean, I'm holding to my role as villain of NGS. So, Ziltwit, are you ready for your bracket, or should I go ahead and do mine?
I can at least do the. I'm almost done with my D. So, B East. I got a lot to say on it, but I'm really just going to give the TLDRs. I might release some of these in more written form because I've got a lot to say about each of the matchups. So, Rush B versus HOTUS in the matchup. In the regular season, this set actually went 2-1. So HOTUS dropped the map to Rush B. And Rush B had to win a lot of hard games at the end of the season to even get into the playoffs, which they did manage to do. So they are definitely the underdogs, and 2-0 can be expected. But if Rush B comes to play, especially if they've got some surprises for them or anything that HOTUS isn't expecting, we could see a 1-2 or maybe an upset. Though in the end, I still give HOTUS the 2-1, as they're 4-1 in games that go to 2-1 in the regular season. So it still favors them statistically across the board any way you look at it. So HOTUS advances. Beast Coast versus Jailbait. Now this one I hummed and hawed about the most, and it's really hard for me because initially I would have said Beast Coast takes this victory, and not only takes it, but takes it in a 2-0 victory. However, Beast Coast did lose their tank player, and that can make a big impact on the strategies you want to run, and it makes people move around roster-wise to be able to fill the slots that you need if you don't have specific subs in place that are ready to pick up the responsibility and practice with you. And I don't know if Beast Coast really has that. So the fact that they did lose their tank makes me think that Jailbait could be a bigger issue for them. They did win the matchup 2-0, and they did go up against them. But I think Jailbait's one of those teams that you don't really want to be having those things happen going into the playoffs. So I'm actually going to call it Jailbait takes the win 2-1 over Beast Coast. That might be a little controversial, but I do think that might be what we see happen, given the things that happened kind of rolling up to it. So, hard-won victory. It'll be a tight series, and it could go either way, but I think Jailbait walks out of it. Minion Miners versus Reborn Knights Black. The problem is it's hard to bet against Minion Miners. They basically have only lost 2 matchups. One to Buff Chen and one to Beast Coast. And both of them were 1-2 matches, so they never got dominated by any other team in the whole league. RKB started off the season winning 5 out of 6 matches, only losing to Beast Coast, and dominating Jailbait. But after that, they only won 1 out of 6 games, including losses to Minion Miners and HOTUS. They did take 1 map off of each of those teams, though, so you can't sleep on RKB. And if they come in prepared, they're definitely a scary team to have at the 7th spot. The downward tread, though, of RKB is going to affect them psychologically. Minion Miners has been very consistent. So I think really when it comes down to the playoff fight between these two teams, I have to say Minion Miners wins. And not only wins, but wins with a 2-0 domination. Trump versus Murky's Hit Squad. Now, I'm going to get flamed really hard for this by Trump. Really, really hard, because I'm going to actually call Murky's Hit Squad to win this. In the regular season, Murky's Hit Squad took maps off of Beast Coast and beat Trump 2-1. They've been either dominated or dominated every other team in the league. They've either lost 2-0 or won 2-0. They haven't had another 1-2, except for Beast Coast and Trump. So they're definitely one of those teams that can really go either way, and it's really like, are they hot or are they not? But keep in mind, Trump is the number 3 seed. They flew under the radar. They lost to HOTUS early, forfeited to Jailbait, and then lost 2-1 to MHS. So they kind of sat at our power rankings really low. However, after that, they basically didn't lose until they ran into Minion Miners, who they lost 2-1 to. So, but the thing is that while they were the team that got beat by MHS, and they lost AFK Healer. And again, against a team that you've already lost to into the playoff rounds, and then dropping a main roster healer, I think there's enough variation to claim that Murky's Hit Squad could make an upset happen. I usually like to call it an upset somewhere in each bracket if I can, and this is the one area where I feel like there really is a formula for it to happen. So I call Murky Hit Squad to actually win 2-1. Like I said, I'm going to get flamed for that. Big time. HOTUS then versus Jailbait. I think HOTUS will win 2-0, and I think it'll be convincing. While Jailbait, I think, has done well, I think, into a powerful playoff team like Heroes of the United States. They're not going to really come out with a big victory. A lot of the rest ones are going to go pretty quick. Minion Miners into Murky's Hit Squad. Murky's Hit Squad might pull off an upset against Trump, but I don't think they're going to do it against Minion Miners. I think Minion Miners are going to smoke them 2-0. And then finals is obviously going to be HOTUS versus Minion Miners. In the regular season, Minion Miners took the victory 2-1. And they have a really good record of 2-1 victories. So, but HOTUS has a really good 1-2-1. So it's a very close matchup. But I'm going to pick Minion Miners to win. And so going to the west side, Unemployed Gaming versus Roll1 Esports. The obvious pick here is Unemployed Gaming wins 2-0. But keep in mind, Roll1 Esports is a veteran squad, and they definitely could still come in with some adjustments into a crew like Unemployed Gaming and make something happen. Regardless of that, I'm still going to say it's a 2-0 for Unemployed. Logical decision for Who Knows Gaming. I'm just going to call it that we win the 2-0 just based off of past results. But keep in mind, Who Knows Gaming has been on a huge winning streak, and that might be a confident call, but it's not going to be easy, I don't think, by any means. So, moving on, Reborn Knights White into Uncomfortably Numb. Reborn Knights White has actually had a pretty rough end to the season, losing to 2-0 to Uncomfortably Numb the last time that they met. and it was quite recently. I think it was like the last match they played. So having to play them again in the playoffs right away is pretty rough. And I don't know if that's enough time to come up with strategies that you need to really come up with a victory here. So I do think Uncomfortably Numb walks away with a 2-0 victory. Now my spicy pick. Soak Every Lane versus Deviled Kegs. Now, I like and respect both of these teams a lot. They're both teams that we've scrimmed, and they're both teams that we've lost to. Now, we lost 2-0 to Soak Every Lane, but we lost 2-1 to Deviled Kegs. However, Deviled Kegs also beat Unemployed Gaming, and when they lost to Soak Every Lane, they were running a different tank. In the current setup, Deviled Kegs, Ravenex is tanking. Contender is now back in the mix and playing. And I think this roster is their best form that they've had so far and is very scary. I actually predict Deviled Kegs to pull off a 2-1 victory over Soak Every Lane in this round. So the number 6 seed is going to win that. Now, going into Unemployed Gaming versus Logical Decision, which is going to be the semifinal pick, I want to win this series. I think we have a chance to beat them, but I'm predicting UG wins a close 2-1 series. We haven't really played their newest form of team, and so it's really hard to predict how that one's going to go down. We've scrimmed them since some of the changes, and it's we're not super scared of this squad, but they've been winning, and they've been winning a lot, and they've been beating teams that have been beating us. So it's really hard for me to say that we can walk in here arrogantly thinking we're going to pull off a win. We're definitely underdogs in that matchup. Uncomfortably Numb versus Deviled Kegs. I went with DKG wins 2-1 over UN. So Deviled Kegs pulls off the upset victory over Uncomfortably Numb. I just feel like with the change up in roster, they have the tools they need to at UN. And as long as they can scout properly and come into this match well, Deviled Kegs might take UN by surprise and actually pull off a victory. They've beaten really the better teams in the division with this setup already, and I think that they're a scary team. So the Coastal final prediction is actually Unemployed Gaming versus Deviled Kegs. And Deviled Kegs wins this matchup 2-1 over UG to go to the grand finals versus Minion Miners. And I believe this is the case because they beat Unemployed Gaming before, and I think their current iteration is stronger. And I think that they'll beat them if they meet them in the Coastal Finals. So, my Division B Grand Final prediction is Minion Miners versus Deviled Kegs, but I think the buck stops there, and Minion Miners takes a close series victory 3-2 over Deviled Kegs. That's my playoff bracket.
Oh man, that's a fun bracket. Oh,
I thought you were gonna go all the way for a moment there. I was blown away.
I'm confident in my team, and I think that we can have a good showing in the playoffs. But I'm also
You sound more confident in Deviled Kegs than your own team.
I think that they've got a good set. I don't know.
oh,
I got to vote for somebody.
that's
What I will say, though, in all of Division B, I kind of agree with Ziltoid on Deviled Kegs. They were a new roster kind of finding their way in the early part of the season, and they have found their way. They've been really consistent the second half. And of all of the kind of lower bracket teams, East or West, I think they might have the highest ceiling. So definitely keep an eye on them. I think it's possible they flame out in the first round, but I also think it's just as possible for them to get on a roll and really put a run together. So that wouldn't surprise me even a little bit.
I think like the first or second round upset could be somewhat reasonable. I think it went a little bit past that for me, but I respect it. So
He just wanted to see the Spicy Bowl in the B West finals there. That's what he wanted.
I based a lot of this stuff off of based off of regular season matchups. Yes, they lost Uncomfortably Numb and Soak Every Lane, but they didn't lose to them in their current iteration.
That's all well and good, Ziltoid. You can just say you want to see the Spicy finals. That's cool.
I do, of course.
we all
But
do.
I don't just make predictions out of nothing. I usually have good reasoning.
Oh, in that case, I should do some research.
Alright, now for my bracket. Okay, so, starting with B East, Heroes of the United States versus Rush B. I spent a lot of time looking for ways to justify Rush B winning that and getting the upset, but I just can't. Hodis is going to win that matchup in my book. I really wanted to justify it the other way, but I just can't give it to him. Now for Beast Coast versus Jailbait, I am going to give it to Beast Coast. They've been fairly consistent. I think when it comes to 4th seeds across NGS, they're one of the weaker 4th seeds. But I think they're still really strong. I mean, they can take a game off of anybody. They could very much still win B East. I don't mean to say they are a weak team, but I could flip a coin and just as easily justify Jailbait, in my opinion, winning this, because Jailbait's a very good team too. Now, Minion Miners versus Reborn Knights Black. I'm giving it to Minion Miners because they're such a good team, but I do want to say that Reborn Knights Black is probably the best 7th seed team in all of NGS. They are a really strong 7th seed team, and it wouldn't surprise me if they won this matchup. The unfortunate part about being 7th seed, though, is they are playing a team as good as Minion Miners in 2nd seed, and Minion Miners is a really strong 2nd seed team. And I think if there's any one match to watch for the first round playoffs in B East, it's that one. I think that is going to be closer than the 4th and 5th seed match. I think it's going to be wild. I think we're going to see 3 games, and it's going to eat up a big part of your evening. So if you're bored one evening, whenever that game's on schedule, watch it. It's going to be a really good time. Now for the real Ultimate Mosh Pit versus Murky's Hit Squad, I was going to give it to Trump, but Ziltoid is really convincing, and I really like that argument. But now I'm still giving it to Trump.
Don't join me. Yeah.
I'm still giving it to Trump.
Me. Don't join in that bandwagon.
I really wanted to, but I still got to give it to Trump.
Statistically, Trump should absolutely win this matchup.
They absolutely should, so that's why I'm still giving it. And last time I followed you on playoff predictions in regards to other teams, I was wrong. I agreed with you on the, what was it? Church of Tassadar, or whatever their team name was. That Tasta? Was it that Tasta?
Yeah, it was Dat Tasta.
And last time I believed in you, and you were wrong, so this time I'm going against you.
Wrong. Yep.
So now, bringing it back up to the top, we have Heroes of the United States versus a skeptical Beast Coast, and I gotta give it to Hodis once again. I'm not fully confident in Beast Coast making it there, and because of that, I just think Hodis will secure that matchup. Not easily. I think it'll be a 2-0, but I think it'll be a hard 2-0. I think both games will go either way. And then, moving on, we got Minion Miners versus Trump. Again, it feels too easy to go with the higher seed, but I gotta give it to Minion Miners. I think they are extremely consistent and extremely good, and them being 2nd seed is almost by chance. I mean, obviously they lost the game, but they could have just as easily been 1st seed, I think. I think they're just a very, very strong team. Which then brings my B East Grand Finals to Minion Miners versus Heroes of the United States. And maybe I'm showing a little bit of bias here, but I think Minion Miners is going to take it.
They have before.
Yes, this is... And this is a fun matchup to watch. This is going to be a lot of fun. I say I hope this matchup to win. Not gonna lie, I would enjoy some 8 seed upsets more than this matchup happening. But if this matchup happens, it's gonna be a good time for everyone, and you will have a lot of fun. So, moving on to the other side of the time zone, we got Unemployed Gaming versus Roll One Esports. Unemployed Gaming, I gotta give it to them. They are a really strong roster, and I think even with the constant roster shakeups, they have shown that they are very, very strong. And consistently very strong. Now for Logical Decision versus Who Knows Gaming, Now I think I am the one who is different-minded than everyone else here. So I love the people in Logical Gaming. Ziltoid, Wono, wonderful people. They're an absolute blast to be around with. But the iron is striking hot right now. And I think whenever it comes to playoffs, it's about the teams who are on the biggest streak. I think teams with a recent 4 wins rather than a couple losses in between the most recent 4 are going to do better in the playoffs. They're striking hot. They feel good. I think they're going to take that win. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a 3-game series, but I think Who Knows Gaming squeaks it out. And then moving down to Uncomfortably Numb versus Reborn Knights White. I promise, Reborn Knights organization, I have nothing against you, but I give it to Uncomfortably Numb. And then Silk Every Lane and Deviled Kegs. And this one is actually one that I've thought a lot about. And I promise Ziltoid didn't convince me on this, but I'm on the Deviled Kegs hype train as well. In fact, spoiler alert, Deviled Kegs is going all the way to the B West Grand Finals in my bracket, so we can go ahead and save the trouble right there. So, now, let's go ahead and get with the rest of the bracket. We got Unemployed Gaming versus Who Knows Gaming. I think Unemployed Gaming stops right there, and Who Knows Gaming is going to continue their hot streak and keep going. I think Who Knows Gaming is really strong, and I feel bad for anyone who has to go against them. And I don't think they're the underdog in any matchup they have, except for maybe Unemployed Gaming. Which is weird for the 5th seed. So now we got Uncomfortably Numb versus Deviled Kegs. I already said Deviled Kegs all the way to the Grand Finals for B West. So moving on there, we have Deviled Kegs versus Who Knows Gaming. And it's Deviled Kegs. I think Deviled Kegs is going to the Grand Finals too. Whenever Ziltoid started going on with Deviled Kegs, I was right there with them. I think this team is actually going to win it all. So, we're saying Grand Finals is going to be Minion Miners versus Deviled Kegs, and I'm giving it to Deviled Kegs. Don't let me down. It doesn't stop there with me. I think they win it. And that's my bracket.
The villain has spoken.
The villain has spoken.
I do think for Logical Decision versus Who Knows Gaming, I'll just go ahead and give Zoltoid the excuses here. That they were without Wono for a little while there.
They were.
So I think some of those losses, a little bit, you have a sub playing or something like that. Those things happen. I think Wono's going to come back with a vengeance, and he's ready to earn back the honor of Logical Decision in the playoffs. So
that's true.
So what you're saying is he carries us.
Wono carries all of us in more ways than just.
Well, he is just a key player. He's a very, very good, strong player, and I mean, with most any team, missing one of your main 5 can be quite hurtful. Sometimes it's just a really essential puzzle piece. It's not that he carried; it's that he's a very big piece of the puzzle. I still give it to Who Knows Gaming. The iron's hot. It's red hot, and they're scary. I feel bad for Logical Decision having to play them right now. If this were a few weeks ago, I'd say Logical Decision all the way, but it's scary right now for them. It's going to be a tough matchup, and it's going to be a fun matchup. It's a really interesting 4th and 5th seed. So, moving on. Getting the show moving, we have C East. Mongoose, you want to start us off?
Sure, and you know what? We'll start off spicy. I always try to pick 1-1-8 matchup. Who is the 8 seed that's going to knock him off? Winky Face has been dominant all season long in C East. Calculated Throw is a veteran team. I think they're going to catch him napping a little bit.
No.
Sometimes that happens with top seeds. See Regen Blue VMS last season. Maybe you catch him sleeping game 1. Calculated Throw had a 1-2 series with them this season. Calling the upset. Calculated Throw pulling off the massive upset C East over Winky Face. If you want to pick one matchup to watch, 4-5, Boogan Squad, Duratan's Couch. Boogan Squad having a real nice showing. 4th place, top of the bracket, bumping up from D Division. Playing the Couch, who came down from B, if I recall, last season. Should be a 2-1 either way. Going to give it to Boogan Squad. Going down to Wood League versus Die for Vision, 2 seed versus the 7 seed. I think Wood League takes this one. And Do It Right versus Lubu. Lubu, another team coming down from Division B, cutting their teeth last season in a little bit of a higher division. I think they actually made the playoffs in BE last season, like 8th place, if I recall. I think Lubu takes that one. Top half of the bracket, that gives us Boogan Squad versus Calculated Throw, and there the Cinderella story ends. Boogan Squad taking out Calculated Throw, advancing to the C East Finals. Wood League Lubu should be really a great matchup. Could go either way. I flipped a coin and it went to Lubu. Lubu in the C East Finals versus Boogan Squad. Those two teams know each other pretty well, and I think we're going to give it to Lubu going to the Grand Finals for C Division. C West, we have the number 1 seed Lurk Patrol versus Rainbow Strike Go. Lurk Patrol, I believe they were also B last season. They have been really solid all season. I think that's definitely their matchup to win. Plugwalk versus 10 Armor, though, should be really interesting. 10 Armor, I haven't been watching Plugwalk as much, but 10 Armor has been kind of up and down. Some really good showings, some not so good showings. I think it could go either way. I'm going to slightly lean toward the Plugwalk being the higher seed, and they take a very close matchup. Tickle Me Tassadar versus Can't Counterpick Stupid. CCS was the number 2 seed in the same division last season. So, very similar to Reborn Knights Black and B East. If you're the number 2 seed saying this is the number 7 seed we picked up, not really the matchup you wanted. Can't Counterpick Stupid is a solid team, probably more solid than their 7 seed would indicate. In a very close set, I think Tickle Me Tassadar keeps going with a really strong season, and Paraloot holding the chalk in C West, defeating Piecemeal. Lurk Patrol versus Plugwalk. I think Lurk Patrol takes it, and Tickle Me Tassadar the same over Paraloot. C West, all chalk into a 1-2 matchup in the Coastal Finals, I should say, and gonna pick Tickle Me Tassadar to do an odd repeat after taking a season off and taking the C West Finals, where they would face, who did I say, in the other side?
Lubu, I think.
Thank you. Yes, Lubu versus Tickle Me Tassadar. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Serenian and the boys, and Tickle Me Tassadar. The manner in which they won it in the last one, I want them to top it. I want it to be even more of a dramatic, absolutely wacky ending, so don't let me down, Tickle Me Tassadar.
Awesome. What's funny is my bracket is pretty... I'll go ahead and do my bracket, because it's relevant to what you mentioned. It's fairly similar, but we get there in different ways. So, starting with C East, we got Winky Face versus Calculated Throw. I did not give the upset to Calculated Throw. I say Winky Face beats Calculated Throw. And I do think it's going to be a 3-game series. I think, but I do think Game 3 is going to be a convincing victory for Winky Face. In fact, I do not think the wins will be convincing on either side, but I think a game will get squeaked out for Calculated Throw. Boogan Squad versus Duritan's Couch. I think it's Boogan Squad. They moved up from D last season. Very strong team. You'd have no idea they were a D team. In fact, they won Division D last season. Tom Peace and his crew, they are very coordinated. They are a very strong team. So I think they will move on to play Winky Face. So now we got Wood League versus Die for Vision. Die for Vision is a team that, when they have a good day, they look like the best team in Division C. But they don't always have good days. In fact, they're about 50-50 on good days. But their good days are so strong. And I just don't know. I think I give it the Wood League for the consistency. But it would not surprise me if Die for Vision comes out swinging, gets a 2-0, and beats Wood League. But it's hard to feel that way. Now, Lubu versus Do It Right. Lubu takes the win. I think they take it in a 2-0 fashion. They are a very strong team. They are a very terrifying 3rd seed. We played them in the regular season, and it's just... they will push any team they play to their limits. So, moving on to the top of the bracket, we got Winky Face versus Boogan Squad, and I give it to Winky Face still. I think Winky Face is just so consistent, so strong. They're a veteran team. I think they are mature, for lack of a better word, enough as a team to not sleep on any team. That's why I don't think they'll be upset by calculated throw. So I give them the win. And then we got Wood League versus Lubu, and I think Lubu is going to take that win, moving on to Lubu versus Winky Face. And just like Mongoose, I think Lubu moves on to the finals for the division. So I think Lubu versus Winky Face, it'll be a 3-game series. It'll be a lot of fun. And that's where CE stands. Bless you, Zilfwood. Wow, that was intense.
And you mean it'll be a 5-game series?
Oh yeah, 5-game series.
The 3-game series prediction. Ooh, spicy.
No, 5 games. I'm talking 3-2 favors Lubu. So now we got Lurk Patrol versus Team Rainbow Strike Go. I give it to Lurk Patrol. I can't think of too many reasons why Team Rainbow Strike Go would upset Lurk Patrol, just because Lurk Patrol has been so good this season. I think this is the best season that team's ever had.
I think you're right.
And they're just going so hot. So now we got Plug Walk versus Tin Armor. I flipped a coin on this one. I gave it to Tin Armor. That's my only reasoning for this one. It's going to be a close series. So now we got Tickle Me Tassadar versus Can't Counterpick Stupid. Last season, I bet against Falcomer, and I paid for it. This season, I'm doing it again. Tickle Me Tassadar's beating Can't Counterpick Stupid.
Another task team.
but it's going to be a hard one, and I'm not entirely convinced of it. And if Can't Counterpick Stupid wins, I'm never going to hear the end of it, because I know Valk watches every episode, and I'm going to get those pings. But Tickle Me Tassadar gets the win here. And then we got Paraloot versus Piecemeal. I'm giving it to Paraloot. I really enjoy watching Piecemeal, but I think Paraloot is just one of those teams that's just really consistent. If I remember correctly, let me pull it up before I make stuff up. I believe Piecemeal has the most dominations.
I have it right here. Let's see. That is not accurate statement.
That is not accurate. Okay, maybe not.
Not an accurate statement.
Alright, I'm the editor. I'll cut that out.
There you go.
But no, I think Paraloot takes the win. So moving on to the top of the bracket, we got Lurk Patrol versus Tin Armor. I think Lurk Patrol wins that one. Again, just so consistent. And I think Plugwalk and Tin Armor are both excellent teams. But I don't think neither of them will beat Lurk Patrol. So now we got Tickle Me Tassadar versus Paraloot. And I'm giving it to Paraloot, actually. And so, that makes our finals. Oop, my computer's messing up. Lurk Patrol versus Paraloot. And a second ago, I would have said Paraloot. But I'm really thinking about it. And actually, I changed my mind. Lurk Patrol's going to the grand finals, which will put them against Lubu. And I think Lubu's going to win it. And maybe that one's controversial, because Lurk Patrol is really good, and I do think they're the best team in all of C. But I think Lubu's going to squeeze it out. I really do. And if you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind, but we'll see. But that's what I'm going with, so as the villain of NGS, you may flame me over that. So actually, maybe not quite as similar as to Mongoose's bracket as I thought, but fairly. Alright, the Oracle, you want to go?
Sure. So yeah, I'll do my usual disclaimer that C and D are the divisions that I basically watched 0 games of the whole season. And so of course, as the Oracle, my prediction will be 100% correct. So with that out of the way. C East, I have Winky Face taking it over Calculated Throw. I don't think I did any 8th seed upsetting a 1 seed nonsense in my predictions, unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever end of that you're on. I have Boogan Squad taking it over Duratan's Couch. That's potentially an upset that could go either way. I think that'll be a close match, but I do think Boogan Squad will pull it out. I have Wood League taking it over Die for Vision. Pretty standard there, just higher seed. And then I have Lubu over Do It Right for the first round. Then second round, I have Winky Face taking it over Bugin Squad. Again, kind of the higher seed there. Hard to root against them or anything. And then I have Wood League over Lubu, so I'm not on the Lubu hype train with Mongoose and Arthano, unfortunately. And then for the C East finals, I have Winky Face taking it over Wood League, and I think that'll be a 3-1 victory for Winky Face. I just think they're probably the strongest team in C East by a pretty fair margin, so I don't really see them having too much trouble on their way there. C West, I have again Lurk Patrol taking it over Team Rainbow Strike Go. Unfortunately, I am not leaving that hard in the upsets. For 10 Armor versus Plugwalk, I do think that'll be a close matchup. Definitely one to watch. A highlight from Division C, but I do have 10 Armor taking it over Plugwalk. Then I have Tickle Me Tassadar taking it over Can't Counterpick Stupid. Feel free to ping me. The Oracle is moving. Okay, and then Paraloot, I have taking it over Piecemeal for the first round there. So then I have Lurk Patrol, again, taking it over 10 Armor. Lurk Patrol, I think, strong, first seed again, hard to root against them pretty much anywhere through the bracket. You gotta have a pretty good reason, or believe extremely hard. And then Tickle Me Tassadar, I have taking it over Paraloot. And so your C West finals is Lurk Patrol versus Tickle Me Tassadar, and I think Lurk Patrol will also take that in a 3-1 victory. And so for Div C, your grand champions, your East versus West finals, Lurk Patrol versus Winky Face. I think Lurk Patrol takes it 3-1. I just think they are probably by far the best team in Div C, and I don't really think they'll have too many close games the whole way through. I do think Winky Face will probably take a game off of them. I think Tickle Me Tassadar can probably do the same. But other than those two, I don't really see them having too much of a falter on their way to the championship.
Yeah, it's really hard to disagree with your bracket there. It's safe, and honestly, I mean, I can't disagree. I mean, obviously, my bracket's a bit spicier, but I don't think you're wrong in a lot of ways. So, Ziltoid, let's hear it.
So, starting off, Division C East quarterfinals, Winky Face versus Calculated Throw. Winky Face pulls off the victory here because I think Winky Face is a bit of a stacked team in Division C. But they are going up against probably one of the best 8 seeds that you get out of all of these divisions right now. So there could be a potential upset that happens here. Calculated Throw has definitely shown some gusto throughout the season, but they've been terribly inconsistent. And that, of course, has hurt them, put them in the 8th seed, which is why they have to take on Winky Face in the opening round. And unfortunately, while I don't think it's going to be a 10-minute blowout kind of situation, Winky Face probably still takes the 2-0 victory over Calculated Throw. Bugin Squad versus Duratan's Couch is a bit of a different story for me. Duratan's Couch has been consistent in their ability to play up to all of their opponents that they take on. Taking maps off of Wood League and Winky Face. They actually have the 2-0 over Bugin Squad, but that was a forfeit. But I'm going to point out the Bugin Squad, while they opened up the season very strong with lots of victories over everyone that they ran into, including one 2-1 victory over Winky Face, since then their record hasn't been that great, and they've kind of dropped a few matches here and there, which is why they dropped from was the number 1 seed all the way down to number 4. And given the fact that they're having things like forfeits happening at the end of the season, there may be some internal issues there that I don't think Durtan's Couch has, being a very consistent team in NGS, just period. And I actually think that when it comes down to the playoff match between these two teams, Durtan's Couch might actually pull off the victory with the 2-1. And that's what I'm going to go with. They actually pull off an impressive upset over the Bugin Squad 2 advance. Wood League versus Die for Vision. I think this is pretty simple. One thing that we never really discussed a lot of until like the end was Wood League doesn't seem to be losing games at all. In fact, they are so good at not losing games that they went from like sitting at like 11th seed at the beginning of the season all the way up to second. They've been a powerhouse, and I don't see there's any reason to believe that won't continue to be the case. And I believe that they will win convincingly 2-0 over Die for Vision. Lubu versus Do It Right. Do It Right has actually had some good showings against some top teams, but in the end, Lubu beat them 2-0 over last time, and I think that they're going to do the same thing again. So, semi-final round, CEs, we'll have Winky Face versus Duratan's Couch. And again, we did see one map drop to Winky Face, or from Winky Face versus Duratan's Couch. So this could be one of those weird situations where Winky Face chokes in the playoffs to a consistent team like Duratan's Couch, who ends up with the victory. But I'm going to go with my gut on this and saying Winky Face probably pulls out the 2-0 over DC. Wood League versus Lubu. Now, try to call this one. Both these teams have been very convincing all the way through the end of the season. But honestly, what I've been seeing from Wood League in their matches and their play has been very, very good. Like, they're looking like a solid communicative squad. And I just don't know if Lubu has that in-game, minute-by-minute decision-making and resilience that Wood League has. And in the end, I'm going to make it a 2-1 matchup between these two, Wood League taking the victory. And so in the final, the Coastal Final, we're going to have the rematch that we've all been looking forward to. Winky Face versus Wood League from the XGDI Finals rematch. Back to the Unstoppable Force Challengers Wood League versus the Immovable Object Winky Face. But I do think this will be a repeat of before. And I do think that Winky Face will pull off the victory with a 2-1. But I think it's going to be close. And it's one of those ones that if it flops on me, I'm not going to be too upset because it could go either way between those two teams. No doubt about it. They know each other so well. It's a tough one. C West quarterfinal prediction. Lurk Patrol versus Team Rainbow Strike Go. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Lurk Patrol has the best winning record of almost any top seed in all the divisions from B through D. They've only dropped 2 maps, which was their only loss versus Paraloot this season. 2-1. That's it. Everything else they've dominated. They have not dropped a map to any other team in the whole league. Lurk Patrol are quite obviously the favorites in this set. So they're going to take a 2 over Team Rainbow Strike Go like they did in the regular season. Plug Walk, 4th seed versus 10 Armor 5 seed. This is a tough one to call because actually 10 Armor took the victory. But they were using an off-roster sub in Lompico at the time, who cannot be an off-roster sub in this matchup. But maybe they've learned enough from this series between the two. It doesn't really matter. It's going to be a grueling, terrible fight between these two teams. But I think 10 Armor might actually come away with the victory. Tikumi Tassiter versus CCS. Again, unfortunately for Vulcan the boys, I think TMT just takes this win 2-0 convincingly. The thing about TMT is if you look at their roster and who they have on there and when they play well, which they have pretty much consistently all the way through the season, only falling behind Lurk Patrol, which of course people do. It's going to be a super difficult matchup for a 7th seed to win here. And I do think that Tikumi Tassiter takes the victory. Paraloot versus Piecemeal. Just like in the regular season, Paraloot is going to win. I think the gap between the top 5 teams and the bottom 3 in this bracket in particular is pretty substantial. I don't think there's really going to be a whole lot of upsets happening in this area. If you look at the records between the top 5 versus everyone else, it's a huge difference. So they're going to take the 2-0 victory there. C West semifinal predictions. Lurk Patrol versus 10 Armor. Lurk Patrol is undefeated, basically outside of one matchup versus Paraloot. And that was a 2-0 victory there. Tickle Me Tassiter versus Paraloot. Now, you would expect this to be super, super tight, but Tickle Me Tassiter took the domination over Paraloot in the regular season. And I do think that they pull out the victory here again, but Paralude is really good in the playoffs. So TMT, I think, wins, but they win 2-1. Lurk Patrol versus Tikumi Tassadar for the Coastal final prediction. Obviously, this is what you would expect to see out of this division. And TMT, through conversations I've had with them in winners rounds after everything, they're pretty convinced that the loss to Lurk Patrol was a fluke. And that and I am actually going to bank on them being right, and they're going to get the upset victory in this matchup. TMT wins 2-1. But it's really close, and Lurk Patrol's record speaks for itself, so TMT really has to come to play if they're going to beat Lurk Patrol. They better prove me right, because... Anyways, coming down to the C Division Grand Final, it's going to be Winky Face versus Tickle Me Tassadar. And if you look at the rosters between these two teams, I dare anyone to try to make the prediction on who's going to walk away with this one. It's an absolute monster of a matchup. It's a best of 5. It goes all the way, and I think TMT barely squeaks it out at the end. But I don't know, man. Winky Face could win this too as well. Those two would be that's going to be the craziest matchup. C Division Finals. I hope I get the opportunity to cast it, because it'll be nuts. That's it. That's my C.
I think more so than any other season in NGS, we are going to hit 5 games in the grand finals. I don't know if we've ever hit 5. No, we did hit Game 5 in Division D last season, I believe.
It's happened a few times.
And I think more so than any season, we'll hit that a lot this season. I hope so. I love 5 games. It's the most fun. Any comments, anyone, before we move on to Division D?
I don't really have anything in terms of the matchups there. I think, again, mine was pretty safe. Zoltoids is pretty similar to mine, I think. In regards to the 5-game series thing, I do think it's kind of just like the West versus East being split the whole season can lead to the 5-game series generally not really going to 5 games very often, just because one team is going to have more figured out on the other team than vice versa. Yeah. And so, one team can just kind of run away with it if the other team isn't able to adapt fast enough and things like that. So I think that preparation goes into it a lot and stuff like that. So, but I agree with you that I do think there's a lot of close grand finals and even just coastal finals that I do think there will be at least a couple 5-game series over the course of how things break down. So
awesome. Well, moving on to Division D. Does anyone want to start?
I can start this one.
Or here, let's
all right.
Go ahead.
Let's hear it, Ziltor.
I haven't started any of them. I've gone basically.
Yeah.
So I'll do this one. So, Division D East Division Quarter Final predictions. House of Shea versus Tryhards. And House of Shea, again, has only dropped 3 maps all season. And that's an impressive record. Just 1 map behind Lurk Patrol. I think House of Shea is a team to beat in this division, and they've proven that over and over and over again. So, in the end, I'm going to take a 2-0 convincing victory here between these two teams. Tryhards definitely have some tools in the shed, but they just barely squeaked into the end of the division in a really tight fight, and I just don't think that they have what it takes to win that. Church of Murky versus Zul'jin Distillery. Based off the record, I didn't know this was originally the case, so I had to completely redo everything on this one. Zul'jin Distillery, I think, like they did in the regular season, pulls off the upset victory over top of Church of Murky in a 2-1 fashion. They're an experienced team. They regularly play in these types of situations, and they've been around for a long time. Same thing with Church of Murky, but Zul'jin has consistently been able to perform better. So I think this is the first season Church of Murky's had a better record than Zul'jin Distillery. But I think, and I do think XGD is going to take the victory here. 2 calculated to throw versus Wood Tap That. 2 calculated to throw would be number 1 seed if there was no House of Shea. They've been an absolute powerhouse in this division with just a couple hiccups that have cost them that. across the maps. I think they've only lost 5 in total, so it's not like they're far off here. 2 Calculated Throw is definitely the number 2 seed that we've seen them play consistently throughout this division, and I think that they're going to win 2-0. Team Rectum versus Probius. Rectum has shown some really good plays. I think that they have a consistency issue, which is the only reason that they're not higher up in the standings. But they do play very well, and they are 3rd seed. So, they had to be better than 2 Calculated Throw and House of Shea, and that's a that's a really tall order. So they're going to win over Probius, but Probius has some good strategies. I think this might actually be a 2-1 between those two. Division D East semi-final predictions. House of Shea versus Zul'jin Distillery. House of Shea, again, just too strong. I think Zul'jin Distillery does very well in each of the matches as best they can, but I still don't think they take them out. 2 Calculated to Throw versus Team Rectum. These two teams are really tightly matched, and I really don't know 100% if you can easily call who's going to come out with the victory here. But I think 2 Calculated to Throw does pull it out 2-1. Coastal Finals, House of Shea versus Calculated Throw. Tough series. Could go either way, but I'm going to call House of Shea for this. Just given their record is so good. They'll win, but it'll be 2-1. And it could go either way, and it'd be 2-1 both ways. If there's a 2-0, it's because somebody messed up somewhere, and the other one was able to take advantage of that, and that's it. But outside of that, it's a close matchup between those two. D West Division quarterfinal predictions. Full Meta Jacket versus Camino Saber Darts. Camino Saber Darts, when they've come to play, have really shown us some quality play. But Full Meta Jacket is damn consistent. Maybe not as much as House of Shea, but it's also a pretty tough division on the West side. So I'd say it's a 2-0. FMJ walks away with that. Bloodbath and Beyond at number 5 versus Lucidology at number 4. I think Bloodbath and Beyond, for a brand new team in this division, having never played in NGS, has done fantastically. The 5th seed spot is more of just a consistency and kind of learning the divisions and learning the teams that they're playing for the most time. When they play on point together, though, they are a sick team, and they really bring it. Lucidology is an experienced team that, as we've always talked about, tends to sleep in the early, pulls it off into the late. They've also had consistency issues in the playoffs, so I actually think Bloodbath and Beyond walks away with a victory here, 2-1 over Lucidology. The next one is Clouded Minds versus the Baddest Dudes. The Baddest Dudes has had some amazing games, but they definitely still have a consistency issue. Still a lot better than last season, where they didn't even make the playoffs. They managed to snag the number 7 seed, but they're going to be going against Clouded Minds, who from season to season has been very consistent and has been dominating up in the top parts of the divisions. But I don't think they can sleep on TBD, and I think the Baddest Dudes could pull off a 1-game upset, but I don't think that they're going to be consistent enough to pull off 2. So I think CM wins, but I think it's going to be close 2-1. Now this is where it gets spicy. Disturbance versus Randy Newman. So in the regular season, guess who won between these two?
It was Randy Newman, right?
It was Randy Newman. And, I think they're just one of those teams that if you're not prepared, they are going to beat you. So I think they pull off the win with 2-1 victory over top of Disturbance. Number 6 seed. Another number 6 seed taking out number 3. D West Division semifinal predictions. We have Full Meta Jacket versus Bloodbath and Beyond. I don't think Bloodbath and Beyond is prepared to take on a team like Full Meta Jacket in the playoffs. And so I think that FMJ is going to win that one. I think it's going to be 2-0. Clouded Minds versus Randy Newman. This matchup was not an upset in the regular season. Clouded Minds did win 2-0. Though if you watched the set, it was super close. It was not by any means a blowout. And I think Clouded Minds takes the win again, but I think it's going to be 2-1. And I think Randy Newman is, again, another one of those teams that could just make the upset happen kind of out of the blue. But I'm not predicting them to get past the second. Division D West Coastal Finals then will be Full Metal Jacket versus Clouded Minds. I don't know. FMJ probably pulls off the win just because they've been more consistent than Clouded Minds. Clouded Minds has sometimes has moments in drafts and in play where they just kind of drop the ball. But Full Metal Jacket isn't immune to it either, so it's a really tight one. I think FMJ takes the victory 2-1. Going into the Division D Grand Finals, though, I think this one's a pretty clear victory, 3-1 House of Shea. I think House of Shea is a consistent, long-term team that have proven themselves in the regular season. They'll do so again in the playoffs. And if they meet Full Metal Jacket in the Grand Finals, I just don't think Full Metal has what it takes to take on a team like that. That's it.
Awesome, yeah, not too much I disagree with there. Full Metal Jacket, they're the team to beat in Division D, in my opinion. And House of Shea, I think the discrepancy between the top 2 seeds in both of these divisions versus the rest of the division is far greater than any division, just because these 4 teams have come out swinging with a Full Metal Jacket, Clouded Minds, House of Shea, and 2 Calculated 2 Throw. And maybe Clouded Minds at the bottom of those 4, but even still, like, that's a team that could beat any of those. So, yeah. No disagreements there, really. Mongoose, you want to go next?
Sure. Ziltoid mentioned House of Shea, veteran team, been around a while. Off to the side, I pulled up my YouTube channel here, and I have a VOD, Chair League, February 16th, 2017, Mongoose casting Chair League Division 3, House of Shea versus Coleslot. And 4 of the 5 players that I casted on this game 2.5 years ago, still on the roster for House of Shea.
Wow.
Right now, they've been around. I've gotten to know Flash and the crew a little bit. Really stoked to see the great season they're having. And on the flip side, Tryhards, a new team. I don't know a lot about them. I was looking at the standings, though. So, D East, 3 points between first and second, 3 points between second and third, 3 points between third and fourth, and then 3 points combined between 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So 4 through 8 have nearly identical records. There's very little to set them apart. So Tryhards as a new team having a great season, especially, I said, a new squad. I think they got their work cut out for them. House of Shea seems to be having that kind of season for them, so I think it's going to be them. 4-5 matchup. Those are in that group of teams that are all really close. Flipped a coin. Church of Murky. 2 Calculated to Throw would tap that. I think you gotta pick 2 Calculated to Throw. They're also a team that's having that kind of season, and same thing for Team Rectum versus Probius. So top of the matchup, House of Shea, Church of Murky. It's just that kind of season for House of Shea. I don't think you can pick against them this early in the bracket. They're going to advance to the Coastal Finals. On the flip side, there's got to be an upset somewhere, right? You can't go all chalk. Team Rectum going to win a close one versus 2 Calculated to Throw. And in the Coastal Finals, going to be House of Shea advancing to the Div D Grand Finals.
Keep in mind that Team Rectum is the only team to beat House of Shea in the regular season.
I'm just saying. D West, Full Metal Jacket, another team that's just having that kind of a season. I think they're set up to defeat Camino Saber Darts. Luciadology and Bloodbath and Beyond is another coin flip matchup. They've both had some really great moments this season, and they've, as happens to all teams, have some inconsistencies as well. I think it could go either way. I think you picked Luciadology, Ziltoid?
No.
Okay, so then I'm going to pick Luciadology for the sake of being argumentative. So they're going to take it over Bloodbath and Beyond. Clouded Boys, Weenus, Swing, and Crew having a great season. I think they're going to advance. And the one to watch, I think, honestly, is Disturbance versus Randy Newman. I'm really stoked to see the success Disturbance is having this season, because last season they really, really struggled, and it's been really cool to see them bounce back. Randy Newman, a fun team, a returning team with a new name. They're a little stronger than a 6 seed would indicate, so I really think this could go either way. Maybe going to call on a little bit of jitters from Disturbance. Not quite used to being the higher seed and going to have an upset. Randy Newman taking out Disturbance. I think Full Meta Jacket goes and knocks off Lucidology. Clouded Minds taking out Randy Newman. And then we have the chalk 1-2. And I think it's going to be Full Meta Jacket. And we're going to have the 1-1 matchup in the D Grand Finals. And I'm going to pick Full Meta Jacket to take home the bacon, the bragging rights, the Div D crown.
Awesome. I think you really hit the nail on the head with Randy Newman not being a 6 seed team and 6 seed. I think they are secretly a 4th or 3rd seed team in disguise, and it's weird because I don't think they're the underdog in that matchup. I would actually call Disturbance the underdog in that matchup. So I very much agree with that, even though you don't necessarily say that.
Yeah, Disturbance had a great year, too.
Yeah, they did, and they did excellent, and they were really, really strong this year, and they should really hang their head high on that, and Randy Newman is going to be a
Some
big
teams
challenge.
can just be your kryptonite, though.
Yeah.
And I think this might be the case.
Yeah, there are...
And don't get me wrong, I'm pulling for Disturbance because Wraithling is the savior of NGS, and I want to see him win always and forever. So pulling for those guys.
All right, the Oracle, you ready?
I'm ready. All right. D East. Again, I pretty much agree with Mongoose. House of Shay has one of the most dominant seasons of any team in NGS pretty much going, so I think they're going to take it over Tryhards. Zul'jin Distillery, I'm going to pick to take it over Church of Murky. Not doing a coin flip there, but Zul'jin Distillery did win in the regular season. It was the 2-1, but I do think they will topple the Church of Murky there. 2 Calculated to Throw, also having a stellar season. I have them over Would Tap That, and Team Rectum over Probius, mostly based on seeding there, but hard to choose an upset, choose spicy when I have no idea what's going on. So, second round, House of Shay, they're going to take it over Zul'jin Distillery. Like Mongoose said, House of Shay, I pretty much, spoiler alert, have them going all the way. They are just going to steamroll through probably most of everyone. And so for the other semifinal matchup, I have 2 Calculated to Throw, taking it over Team Rectum. And, it's the, I don't know, David and Goliath story, but they're both Goliath, where House of Shay and 2 Calculated to Throw are going to meet in their D East finals, Coastal finals. And I think House of Shay is going to take it over 2 Calculated to Throw. I think that'll be a 3-1, but that'll probably be a close, hard-fought series, so I can see that going 3-2. For D West, Full Meta Jacket, they are the 1 seed. I do have them going over Camino Saber Darts, but like you said, I think the disparity between the 1 seed on D West and the 1 seed on D East is pretty drastic. So I do think Full Meta Jacket is going to have a bit of a harder fought run for a 1 seed, especially. D West seems to be pretty close overall through all the teams, although D East has a bunch of the ties as well, as mentioned in seeding, things like that. So then I have Lucidology. I'm going to pick them to win over Bloodbath and Beyond, not just to be a little bit of a villain spicy pick, but also just because I think they'll win. So like you said, Lucidology, I do think kind of pulls it together and has a good run towards the end of the season where they seem to be playing pretty well overall. Clouded Minds, I'm going to have take it over the Baddest Dudes. They're also having a pretty solid season. Baddest Dudes, probably a solid team, but I do think, a team that has a solid record is coming in as the 2 seed. It's hard to root against them too much. And then I have Disturbance taking it over Randy Newman. I do think that's going to be a matchup to watch, but I will still give it to Disturbance. I don't think Randy Newman has the consistency that I've seen. I was really impressed with them early on in the season. I caught like 1 or 2 of their games, and they looked pretty strong. and then they lost like a couple matches in a row, and I kind of got off the hype train of Randy Newman a little bit. So unfortunately, I am not being faithful in my belief, and I'm changing sides. So there you go. For the semifinals, I think Full Metal Jacket is going to take it over Lucidology. Again, it's the 1 seed. It's hard to root against them too much. And I think Clouded Minds is going to take it over Disturbance. And again, we're going to have a number 1 and 2 seed meeting in the Coastal Finals of D West. And I think Full Metal Jacket is going to take it over Clouded Minds. I think that one will be probably less close. And I do think that one will probably be 3-1 for Full Metal Jacket. And so for the Div D Grand Championships, House of Shay versus Full Metal Jacket, I think House of Shay wins. That might be a 3-0. That might be a very, final note to end their season on, of just having a dominant run the whole way through. And that could maybe be a 3-1, but I don't really see Full Metal Jacket taking them too close. That I think that'll be either a 3 or a 4 game series, and House of Shay will take it. So,
awesome.
The Oracle has spoken.
The Oracle has spoken. All right, so I will close it out. So, starting from the top with Division D East, we got House of Shay versus Tryhards. Tryhards, great first season. You made it to the playoffs in a very competitive D East. So, you will play House of Shay, and you will discover, do gods bleed? No, House of Shay 2-0's Tryhards. Quite convincingly, unfortunately, but great job making it to the playoffs. So now we got Church of Murky versus Zul'jin Distillery. Now, this is a matchup that I love watching. They played each other in XGD. I caught their match during the regular season. I love this matchup, but I'm going to give it to XGD. They have won every single time these two teams have met. It would be fun to watch Church of Murky get this win. No, I think it's going XGD, though. These two teams know each other. A lot of fun. 2 calculated 2 throw versus Wood Tap. 2 calculated 2 throw. Like I said, I just think the disparity between the top 2 seeds versus everyone else is too big, which is saying something because, I mean, what was it? 4th through 8th were all like 3-point differential, like Mongus was saying. That's crazy. Zul'jin Distillery was technically tied for 7th, something like that, and their 5th seed, which also, I want to mention, Zul'jin Distillery was my pick at the start of the season to win the whole division. And it is crazy to see them fall to a tie for 7th, 5th, and really competitive division, honestly, from that point. So now Team Rectum versus Probus. I think Team Rectum Probus has some consistency issues. They are very hot whenever it's hot, but I think sometimes they don't look the absolute best on their off days. So, best of luck to Probus. I do hope they make it a good series. So, moving on to the top, House of Shay versus Zul'jin Distillery. It's going to be House of Shay. It's really hard to bet against this team. If I were a betting man, I would absolutely not bet against this team. There's any team playing against House of Shay, study up. Spend your week studying, spend your week researching, watch all the VODs. If you have any hope of beating this team, you need to watch everything. You need to know this team better than yourself if you're going to beat them, I think. So, House of Shay moving on to the Coastal Finals. So now we got 2 calculated 2 throw versus Team Rectum. I think it's 2 calculated 2 throw. My bracket's not too spicy right here. And so we got 2 calculated 2 throw versus House of Shay. Like I said, it's just, I can't bet against House of Shay. They are that good right now. And I'd be interested to see what takes maps off of them. They've dropped 3 maps the entirety of the season. There's what, 11 games? So, at minimum 22 maps, which I know they've played more than that. They lost 3 maps, so 25 maps total, if I'm correct, they've played. And they've dropped 3. That is insane. So, the big question is, do gods bleed in Division D East? And I do not think gods bleed. I think House of Shay goes all the way to the Grand Finals. So D West, we almost have a similar situation with Full Metal Jacket. Full Metal Jacket coming back after last season in the playoffs, I believe getting knocked out by Division C's Mugen Squad last season. And so now they are back with a vengeance and first seed in Division D West. And I do think this is closer than House of Shay versus their corresponding 8th seed against Tryhards. And I think I had a lot of hype with Camino Saber Darts earlier in the season. And I do think if there is going to be an upset, it would be Camino Saber Darts. But I don't think they're going to do it. I think Full Metal Jacket's still going to take the 2-0, but I think if any team's going to do it, it'll be Camino Saber Darts, but I don't believe it'll happen. So, Full Metal Jacket moving on. So now we got Luciodology versus Bloodbath and Beyond. Luciodology, I've said it before, they're a slow starting team, and then they get hot at the end of the season, though they do lack consistency in the playoffs. And I don't know if they've ever made it past the first round in the playoffs. They always lose consistency right there, but I do think they are going to get a playoff win right here, and they are going to beat Bloodbath and Beyond and move on. But I think they lose to Full Metal Jacket right there, so go ahead, spoiler alert. Full Metal Jacket, Coastal Finals. So now we got Clouded Minds versus the Baddest Dudes. It's Clouded Minds. No big surprise there. I think everyone here thinks Clouded Minds is moving on, and then we got Disturbance versus Randy Newman. I think Randy Newman gets the win. I might have alluded to that earlier. I think they are the strongest 6-seed team around. They aren't the most consistent, but they look really strong whenever they get those wins. So, now we got on the top Full Metal Jacket versus Luciodology. Already alluded to it. Full Metal Jacket gets the win. Coastal Finals. So, Clouded Minds versus Randy Newman. I think Clouded Minds knocks out that win. 2nd seed versus 6th seed. It's just a consistency thing. I think Weenus and the gang got it. So, Clouded Minds versus Full Metal Jacket. Just like everyone else, I think it's Full Metal Jacket. And that moves us on to a Battle of the Titans. Full Metal Jacket versus House of Shea. Who do I give it to? House of Shea. I think House of Shea takes it 3-1. I think if you're Full Metal Jacket and you believe in yourself going to the finals, I think you start studying House of Shea today. I think if you have any hope of beating this team, you should be studying them with your current opponent coming up. I think this is a team you need more time to plan for. They are going to be a hard team to beat. And I think out of any division, this is the division I would most bet on a team winning it. I think House of Shea is going to win it. So, I hope I'm wrong. I want to see something shocking. But that's my bracket.
Isn't it ironic in Division D, which is typically the spiciest and most wild westy of all the divisions, it's the only one we all picked the same thing in the end, basically?
Yeah, it is. It's pretty
so
crazy.
we're all going to be wrong.
We can only hope.
Yeah, I hope so. I want to see some spicy upsets. If Team Rectum beats House of Shea, I'm going to lose it. And they will forever be NGS legends, and I will start petitioning for a tryhards emote. But, yeah, that's my bracket. And I believe that's all the brackets we got this week. So next week we are going to have Heroic Division and Division A brackets, and we will continue and move forward with these brackets. So, we don't got too much left in the show. We got highlights, and we got a couple questions from you guys. So, real quick, let's do the highlights. Alright, so I'm just going to do count in number 5, count in 4, so on. Because I don't have the order. I'll figure that out in editing. Alright, so, highlight number 5. Show the clip.
Himibo on Blaze and Wesker on Lucio.
Lucio. I'm having some technical issues. My frame rate's super low. I don't know what's going on. So if you guys are home or hating it and you have some sort of vomit starting, I do apologize for that. A big B-step party. I think this was agreed upon, right?
I hope so, because wow, that is the biggest V-step party I have ever seen in my life.
And hi, Mom. I'm sure we're...
And now, number 4. Show the clip.
The light bomb out from the Anduin as well, and I don't know if it's going to be enough. They're sustaining through a lot of the sweeping is going to be coming out as they, oh wow, they managed to get right out of there. Meanwhile, Chromie will be going down to the Sonya, who does still have the Wrath of Berserker popped, as that's going to be Diablo throwing them around. Mudge is going to be followed up as well. Kerrigan going to be going down. Smug Dolphin going to be picked off as well. Mudge just going to be trying to get Kobo here, and look how much healing they've been getting from that entire time, as well as the Anduin heal out as well. 5, 4...
Number 3. Show the clip.
Go up to make sure that they don't get invaded, but it's going to be 4-man here. Diablo on his way down. They should get off of this camp and start attacking as best possible. Grenade onto themselves, shield onto Glaucus. They're going to turn this around. The swing onto Bacon Bacon goes down. Star Fox on the point here. They're going to have shields as sustained, but that's going to be it. Masterfish makes his way here. Loxley goes down. Star Fox getting low. Big Wiz. Masterfish switching on the point here. Big Wiz, he's going to have his shield up right away. That's the only sustain here. Imperious goes down. Shield on the Big Wiz. Star Fox on the point. Devo going to clean it up. Rosai actually is the one cleaning it up. 7 HP stays alive to do the damage. 16. They trade it out. No one gets the camp. These guys are having fun. Glaucus comes back. I have not casted one of those.
Number 2. Show the clip.
I think they think Rewind was going to, but they're going to get spotted here. But
Yeah,
I actually
Owl
don't
did
think
get
Rewind
sent up.
could get here in time if they actually commit to this.
I
So
mean,
that was a bit of a late commit, so we'll
Yeah.
see.
they're coming up here. They did send a camp out mid. If they can win a
Yeah,
team
they'll-
fight
they'll
here
be
and
here in
capture
time. They'll get
this, I don't know. It's going down pretty quickly. Are we going to see a ley line right here? It looks like he's setting up for it,
Yeah,
and
we
the
are.
ley line does come out. Fade steps on the
Steal, no.
point. Oh, the steal is unsuccessful. So far, a flailing swipe coming out from Stukov, and
So
Earthquake
we got
comes
the
down.
big
Oh my god.
taunt there on the
Yeah.
point.
Sky
Yeah.
5 is going down here.
Yep.
Stukov, KT, Varian, Sonya, dead. Anna is not going to make it
no.
out either. Oh,
Oh boy. So
Terraria
I think they
getting
should
her
rotate down
revenge
and
here.
take their camp here, right? Or do they just push straight with boss? That's probably what they're talking about right
I
now.
mean,
All right, so
probably
they are going to
taking
take the
mid-keep.
camp.
And for our top highlight of the week, show the clip. Alright, those were some spicy highlights. And so, last bit of the show, we got a couple questions from the community. So, let's go ahead and get to those. Edge question, is Turd Herder ever coming back? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. He's been pretty busy lately, so he will be back next week as our lovely host, defeating the villain and taking back his show in his rightful place. So, next question, a more real question. Which are the most improved teams from the start of the season for each division?
I'll go.
Alright, let's hear it.
Division B West. Who Knows Gaming, they lost 3 out of 4 to start the season. Ended the season rattling off like 6 or 7 wins in a row. Didn't even look like the same team. So that's my pick for most improved, Who Knows Gaming. And I'm going to modify the question and most improved from season to season. Last season to this season, Disturbance. Really, really rough season last season. This season, number 3 seed, top of the division, been really steady Eddie all season long. So most improved team season to season, Disturbance.
I fully agree with that in that regard. Anyone else have any most improved teams?
I'll go ahead for Div B here, I think. I'm going to say Jailbait from B East.
Okay.
They also started the season a little bit rocky. They had an early loss to Reborn Knights Black, who is a pretty strong team, as we've already gone over and mentioned here. But I think they kind of pulled their season together, and I think they've been looking more and more solid as the weeks have gone by. So I'll give Jailbait that from Div B there.
Awesome. Zoltwood, you got anyone?
Wood League.
Oh.
I think, especially season to season, this team has come up from like a bottom rung team in C, and it's probably one of the top teams in the division. Whether they'll take it or not is a big question mark. But if anyone's had such an amazing improvement curve from moment to moment, game to game, season to season, Wood League's my pick.
Awesome. And for me, I actually have Tryhards in Division D. New team. They made it into the playoffs, like we said. They started off the season playing House of Shea, which is quite an unfortunate first week. And lost to Church of Murky right after that. And then lost to Wood Tap That. And then they got a forfeit win from a team dropping out. And then they lost to Team Rectum. And from that point forward, they changed. They won every single game except for against 2 Calculated 2-Throw to finish out the season and get into the playoffs. Just barely. And they beat some strong teams on the way. They 2-0'd Zul'jin Distillery. They beat Probus 2-1. And they 2-0'd Frank FF in the Pancakes. And I think, coming from a team that hasn't played in a league like this, and then starting off so rough, and then pushing through it and making the playoffs is incredible. So I got to give it to tryhards. And then last Edge question we got for this week, we got, what are your favorite callouts or alternate names for heroes or talents? Like Dibbles or Rain of Memes for Rain of Destruction. So I got one. It's not a hero or a talent, but it's the Fountain Sippy Cup. I love calling it Sippy Cup. It's my favorite. Any of you got any nicknames for anything?
Meme Beam.
Meme Beam?
Yeah.
What's that one?
Phoenix.
Okay, yeah.
Planet Cracker. Yeah.
That makes sense. I've
heard it also for Artanis's laser.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, Meme Beam. Yep. I like that.
Yep, that's a pretty good one.
My favorite one is probably Reign of Disappointment. what I call it anytime a rando picks it in game, Reign of Disappointment.
I gotta say, if your goal is to hard siege things though with the adjustments on Reign of
Destruction,
Destruction,
since the changes, but this name dates back long before the thing was anything close to viable.
Yeah.
And then the only thing that I've ever come up with was I call Deckard Cane's potions Gatorades. You pick up a Gatorade on
I like that. Nice and wholesome. Okay, I have one more question that's not from the community. It's actually for me and to yell at my team over. Is Reign of Destruction finally worth it? Can you finally justify it?
No.
Dang it. I never pick it, but every time I play Gul'dan and we hit 10, I ask if I'm allowed to. And the answer's always no. I know what the answer is, but I really want to pick it.
I would defer to Ryokai. My take would be it's you can't look at those things in a vacuum. It's better now, and I think it's okay. But your choice is Horrify or that, and it's always Horrify.
Yeah,
Horrify is so good.
Yeah, Horrify's so good. I know what the answer is. I just want someone to give me permission just one time.
I pretty much agree with Ziltoid. I think if you're sieging especially, and in that niche, it's okay. It's reasonable. But 95% of the time,
yeah, it's hard to argue. All right, well, that's it for our show, guys. Thanks for tuning in. That was our spicy playoff pick. So, disappoint us, make us happy. I don't know. Hopefully, everyone has a good playoffs. Most of all, have fun. Please tune into all the games. I will actually link the calendar in the description down below, so it's easier for you to catch all those games because we want you to watch those games. We want this to just be a great time. I love playoff season. It's the best part of NGS. So, that's it for me. Ziltoid, you got any last words?
No, other than catch my cast. It's going to be up in about 25 minutes. It's going to be one of the first playoff matches played tonight. Unfortunately, the other one was not picked up for a cast. Mongoose.
I was here. I'm here.
Yeah, I'm saying you should grab that cast. All right, it's over. My bad.
Luckily, we have Arrow, the replay casting master. Somebody, somewhere will grab.
Anyways, I've got Paraloot versus Piecemeal. Start up the quarterfinals in C West. So come join me on my channel in a few minutes on LD Ziltoid or Twitch. .tv/LD.
Awesome.
That's it.
Awesome. The Oracle, you got any last words? Where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm Ryokai everywhere. I will say, first of all, shoutouts to Arrow for getting all the replay casts because he's a machine and it's kind of insane.
Yeah,
it's a little unreal, actually.
I appreciate him, beyond words. I don't know. I couldn't even...
Yeah, I don't ever do replay casts, guys.
And it's through the whole season, too. It wasn't just, one day where he's just I'm just going to power through, 6 hours of casts, because why not?
Is this his job? Do we pay him?
Every weekend. Huh?
Is this his job? Do we pay him?
We should.
Yeah, he deserves it, honestly. He's doing full-time work there, pretty much, so... I will say I'm going to shout out Regen Ghost versus Regen Retro on Thursday as a match to watch. It's not a playoff match. It's in Division A. It's the end of the regular season. But that's a Regen versus a Regen team. So there's, the friendly rivalry whatever mid organization
The Civil War.
fight happening. Yeah, exactly. And it will probably have playoff implications. So I think that's going to be a close match. It's going to be a fun match, a fun rivalry, and it should set up playoffs. And I think it'll just be a good game in general.
Spoiler alert! Not just that, because there's 500 regen teams. There are also 500 regen casters. There's going to be multiple casters popping into that game, so should be some fun, spicy things going on with that one.
Yeah, I'm going to double that shout out for Arrow. Apparently, the only caster that does replay.
Pretty much.
That's not true. You did a Nexus Cat replay, I'm pretty sure. I think I just saw a ping from you yesterday.
My point.
And Mongoose, you got any last words to say?
Be sure to tune in next week so we can figure out just how wrong we all were.
Oh, yeah.
First round matchups. And one of the ones we highlighted, I actually literally just picked up Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. Plug Walk versus 10 Armor. C West. Should be a great one. Plenty of playoff action this week. I'm already looking at the calendar. There's like, I don't know, it's 8, 10, 15, 19, 22 games on the calendar this week between playoffs and Heroic Division A. And as those teams catch up, Heroic and A, especially on their flex games, there's going to be more. So all kinds of NGS to watch this week.
Awesome. Yeah, to piggyback on that, you said Wednesday, 7:30 Pacific time?
7:30 Pacific
Yeah,
time.
so that'll be literally just like a few hours after this airs, if you are watching this right now. So,
perfect.
Check your calendar. Right after this ends, it'll probably be on. So, alright, that's it, guys. Thanks for tuning in. It was a lot of fun. Have a great playoffs, and we'll see you next time. So, take your hots to the edge. It's just not the same. It's just not the same.